I guess we could get started. Rob is not going to be here. Steve and his regrets. Haven't heard from Ann, so I guess we're all here. So everybody here gets to vote. Anybody get a look at the minutes?
Yeah.
I went through changes, edits. Good. Okay, so we'll accept the minutes as submitted. I think we'll hold off on the treasurer's report. Jack is next door.
I don't have the numbers if that's, although I don't
Well,
understand.
we'll
Okay.
see if he gets here by 8.
Okay.
See how things go. If he doesn't, we'll do it belatedly. But, and there's another issue with the treasury as well. So I don't know if he has any update on it. So for new business, we have another tree stand application of Brian Demers in Ghana.
I have a question on this.
Yeah.
When I saw this, I normally thought, well, it's just gets a rubber stamp, but I noticed that there is a check mark on cut trees in conjunction therewith, and there's an explanation down below. That is only at the permission of the property. I don't know what this property is like. I can imagine that, people want to put a brush around their stand and things like that. But, depending on the lot, I don't know that so I would think that if he wants to cut actual trees, he would need to include that.
Yeah, in the past, we haven't allowed actual trees. So it's just, if there's brush or, a branch or two that are in the way.
So maybe that check mark, that shouldn't be there. Should take exceptions.
Yeah, I guess this is a state form. That's the way they set it up, right?
Right, but we don't have to. I don't know. Do
we can deny that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can say you can hunt there, but you can't, and it's put up the stand. You can't cut any trees.
Right.
Yeah. So you say only brush or only branches.
Is this conservation?
Yeah, this is actually the Colin Woods, which I believe is town owned.
Right.
I don't think it's a fun little property. It's behind the new development along Smoke Street. I'm pretty familiar with it. I did once or twice. It's not publicly accessible at this point, really, because they never really planned for that. There is access from Smoke Street, but it goes through a wetland that's pretty rough terrain.
Get your feet wet to go.
Pretty much, yeah. There's been some talk about creating an entrance from Redemption Way. From on the backside of it is there's some town land there, and there's the TurboCam, the other TurboCam property on Route 9. But anyway, this guy seems to know where he wants to set up and all. It's interesting. There's actually another shooting range of sorts just outside of Colin Woods. This guy that's up off of Smoke Street, or that one of those side streets off Smoke Street, and evidently he has like this half-mile long range that it's his land. He just sort of cleared it. And evidently he goes out there, shoots with a rifle or something. So I don't know whether this guy's talked with him or not, but he said he was going to access it from Leanne Drive, I guess is one of the sides.
Which direction is that up here? Is it up from this way?
Yeah, that's
Because there's
it's basically north. Yeah,
it's marked out. I'm assuming this is a mapping application.
yeah, that's pretty much north. So Smoke Street is down at the southeast corner. Yes.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's down. Is this on Smoke Street or something?
Yeah, that's one of the new houses
Okay.
there. Yeah.
So,
So, he seemed to have some arrangement to get in there.
or
So
not.
what do folks think? Is that a reasonable request?
Yeah, other than cutting
other than
trees.
the trees, yeah.
I don't know why anyone would want to go into that patch, but,
Yeah, it does seem kind of, yeah.
but, you know,
And like I said, I don't know about the neighbor, what, it sounds like they'd be aiming at each other, but I'm not sure how that, I just heard that secondhand, I don't know.
don't want to hold on to that thought.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, I guess it's always at your own risk. Oh, there's
Hi
Ann.
there. Hi there.
I am. Do you know where is he proposing a certain spot in here or?
Well, yeah, I think the red dots, I think it's,
Oh, those, so these
Let's
things
see.
he's gonna put up three?
yeah, but I'm not clear where the stand actually would be.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, I thought it was just one dot in the center, but presume it was, yeah.
He might not get it.
It's funny, he's got the little hand pointer.
That's me. Oh, no, it's not me. is
No,
it?
it's
Oh,
right
you're
there.
right. That must be.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, no.
Maybe you did a screenshot with the
First
cursor.
have to leave it there. Yeah, so I don't know what the red lines are then.
That's not a trail, because you said there really isn't,
There are trails
There are,
actually,
okay.
yeah, they're,
so maybe it's
they're
an existing.
that blue dot there, that's a little pond. It's actually
Right.
like a stock pond. It's right on Malago Creek. And that's really where that.
Did you say it's a stocked pond?
No, it's like an old farm pond, you
Oh,
know,
okay.
a dug pond, because it's so symmetrical. It just looks funny.
You're right.
You know, it's not natural, but it's kind of interesting anyway. I hiked around there before
How
the
did you get in? Did you walk through?
Well,
with?
I went through where that house is actually, because it wasn't there then. It was just vacant lots. So it was easy. I mean, you can get through there if you hop along the rocks and, you know, don't worry about getting wet, but, or, you know, this time of year, it's pretty dry.
These homes are occupied.
Yeah, I mean, you can't do that now, of course, without permission. Nobody seemed to be asking it then. Yeah, so, you know,
Doesn't we have to get permission from the owner on the tree thing?
well, I'm
Okay,
saying
true.
we're the owner.
Yeah, that's
right?
Town
We're
owns the
the-
land.
I believe it's town. I mean, I don't know when it was set up, whether it's not on your list of, I'm just wondering if it has, I'm not sure it has an easement, yeah, it just, yeah.
He has landowner's name as the town of Barrington. I didn't check.
Yeah, I think that's probably right.
It's interesting that if that cursor is where his tree stand, the tree stand's gonna be,
Then,
he's not that far from that house though.
yeah,
Is it 300, something like 300 feet, I thought.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
and there's another house not too far up to the north as well.
Yeah.
But I guess that's his
But he needs
business,
to,
and he needs to know. It's not our call, I
yeah, that's
guess.
a hunting regulation. really.
Yeah, but you know, given that I don't think anybody else goes in there regularly because,
That may be one.
It's not very accessible. but yeah, it's not a very big, it's only 12 acres or something total.
It's
Maybe
less,
less,
it's
yeah,
less than
eight-
9, 8.79 is what it says.
Yeah.
That's like small.
Yeah, it does seem
Right next to it.
Yeah. Yeah, but we're okay with it otherwise, except for this cutting
Yeah.
trees.
Have a restriction on it, so.
You
Yeah.
can stamp it as far as I'm concerned.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, we just hope he follows the rules.
I'm not gonna make a comment there, Mike.
Yeah.
Somebody's dog.
As far as the election, I thought I'd wait for Jack as soon as he gets here at a reasonable time, because he was keeping track of who was signed up for what.
Yeah.
We'll wait on that. And this rather daunting list of planning board cases isn't really that daunting, because some of these are really small and are not anything that we need to worry about, but, are you able to pull up?
Which one or do you want to go to?
I'm not sure.
Take it in order, this one.
The amendment ones are pretty minor, so. why don't we
Yeah.
just- Can't remember which one
That
was
down a
which.
little bit better. There.
Like
Um,
Dave Barbara.
So that was just an issue with how the road was taken.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like the last item on the list.
Yeah,
But it's really, yeah, it's really just an engineering issue or paving issue. Um, they had a meeting this morning, I attended.
yeah, I'm not sure. It wasn't, I don't think it was in here, but we can look. This is
Yeah.
the new specification, but there is an explanation that he went to the planning board basically had a meeting.
Yeah, I think that's the second to last item.
Is it?
But like I said, it's really just about paving. Suppose we have any interest in. There was some discussion though this morning. This is the technical review group that I sit in on. And it seems now there's a secondary access. If you remember, this was, it's a conservation subdivision and there's a fairly large open space in the back area. I don't know if you can pull up the final plan. That one. You can just scroll down a bit. One more, I think. Two more. I was just going to show where the second access. If you remember, there's a right of way in the middle of those existing lots that was, they were saying they wanted to put a pipe in there to drain Malago Road, evidently it floods or water drains off of it. And then they were going to drain it down into the, the bottom of the gravel pit essentially and create a catchment basin there. Yeah, well, that'll work. Yeah, I guess I'll show it. Well, no, that's the yield plan. I mean, it'll show. I mean, you can see there. This is that right away. It's a 50-foot gap. And evidently, the neighbors weren't thrilled about it either. So they have a secondary plan, which is to create one over here. If you scroll down, I don't know which page we're on, but. Well, the deal is they have two lots here that are separate from obviously the cluster, and those are just regular lots. But they were going to cut out a little right of way in the corner here, and then create. In a lot of ways, it's a more direct trail, at least from Malago Road. It's a lot farther from the parking area that they said they would set up at the entrance. So I don't know how the snowmobilers would deal with that. But in theory, there might be possibility of parking somewhere in this fork in the road there. But anyway, it's more of a direct shot to the existing trail is here.
So will they abandon that? Not abandon, but they won't use that 50-foot?
Well, it's not clear yet what the deal is. I think the engineers are still fiddling with, what will work, in terms of the water and the hydrology. Because this is where they want to send the waters down.
So this is going to come back to us yet again.
Yeah, by that point, I mean, right now it's the development is moving forward, but there's supposed to be a document about the deed restriction, the part that we care about, and I think I'm supposed to sign off on it. That's what we did previous development, but I haven't heard anything further on that, so it may be they're waiting to resolve this issue. Anyway, none of that's really for the current discussion, but I thought I'd mention it since it's still being debated. As it is now, it's a snowmobile trail. It's not one of our trails, but in theory, in the future, it should be, and certainly part of this idea of connecting up more of the downtown area to have better access, because that trail actually does go to movie theater and the elementary school. I mean, you can get basically all the way to Kayla's. So it's kind of a useful trail to have, whether there's snow or not. So anyway,
What's the process of a snowmobile trail becoming our trail?
well, I think it's because it's becoming a conservation area as opposed to.
So when that's done, that would be part of
I guess, yeah,
the.
I believe so.
Okay.
It's kind of a new concept, I guess. So we'll have to see. I really hadn't heard much at all about it until today. So as much as I know. So, stay tuned.
This is right next door. they've amended the plans for. the-
Yeah, yeah, and this one again is pretty straightforward or even, I mean, it doesn't really involve us. It's actually an improvement. The deal was they were gonna create in the original plan, they had a large paved area over here. And they're basically moving it over to here and it's gonna be more efficient. I guess they figure they can fit more individual, parking spaces
This is
there.
Commercial.
Yeah, it's combination commercial and residential, so they're gonna have both commercial parking and residential, so there's, adding more spaces from 44 to 72, I think. But they say there's gonna be less impervious surface in the end, so it seemed like a pretty good deal, a win-win kind of situation. I don't think it matters to us any, but
Yeah, well, it's not.
yeah, I mean,
I'm just curious, how do you get,
well, if you,
how does that happen?
yeah, can you get to the
That
original?
sounds like
The
magic.
previous,
Yeah.
get more
Go back
parking
to
spaces,
the-
less vehicles.
yeah, I guess.
They could put pavers.
Some, the previous final plan.
That's a first.
Or they're already impacting that.
That's.
Ugly
that's-
design.
Yeah, I think this shows it.
Does it? I thought that-
Yeah, see this area here off on the, kind of to the north,
Yeah.
that was gonna be all paved. And that was for like large trucks or trailers or he just figured, well, let's have more space there. So they're getting rid of that. It's just gonna be a turnaround here around the building. And then again, they're adding more spaces down there.
All right.
So that's what he said. I mean, the engineers concurred, I guess, so that's the deal. And I guess if there's less total paved area, then there'd be less runoff, right?
Or frontal parking,
Theory.
uglier still.
Yeah, but it is a commercial space, so,
I was
That's so
talking with
weird.
John.
That's commercial space.
well, it's off the 125 corridor, everything's commercial.
Apparently it wasn't built the way it was specified. I was talking to John Driscoll, and these were supposed to be offset from one another. So they were gonna be recessed, and
Yeah, well,
no one caught it until it was already out.
really,
But
yeah,
it would, I mean, I don't think the planning board knows to say that.
yeah,
Anyway.
I mean, they're all ugly.
Yeah.
And I don't get why they all have to be gunmetal gray or whatever that dark gray color is. It seems in every house up there is some version of that, but whatever. Seems to be what's popular. So pretty good with that.
The next one.
This one's a little more interesting. So we kind of signed off on it earlier on. This is kind of the final plan, I guess. The actual design.
Well, yeah, right. So this is a proposed conservation subdivision.
Yeah, and if you can go to the yield plan.
Yeah, it's not here. The only question I had.
This is off of Oak Hill. It's actually right on, I guess, the top of Oak Hill, or pretty close to the top there. So this was the yield plan. So you were going to have a cul-de-sac and then a loop. And the loop, actually, that land off to the right extends all the way to the railroad right of way. So it's kind of behind the existing development on the other side, but anyway, it's that public right of way.
And they had asked for a waiver on the yield plan, something
Yeah.
about the road being less than 1,000 feet.
Yeah, there's a rule about, or at least a recommendation, that if it's over 1,000 feet, then you have to have more than one access, I guess, for fire protection and all. And there were some issues raised too about the potential wetlands impact. Some, at least the buffers, I don't think they're actually directly in wetlands, but some of the sites where the houses would be seemed kind of tight, or certainly a lot of wetlands in there. But anyway, this is just for the yield. And they did come out with, I think, one or two houses less than what the yield
Yeah, I
suggested.
think they have 14 proposed houses and there were 16 in the yield.
Right. So, they're already down a couple. So So when you go to the final plan or the
Is
conservation,
that up or down?
it's usually down, but I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically it's just the cul-de-sac, right? But it's got more houses around it, smaller lots.
The other piece of property
Right.
with the wetlands is up here.
Yeah, and in between the two, you remember that narrow spot is right where there's a vernal pool. So it's actually a good thing that they're not going in there. So environmental.
There's no, so, there don't appear to be any wetland issues in the area that they're developing, but there's no mention of how the open space is going to be handled.
Yeah, well, that came out again this morning, discussed in the technical review. They are planning to convey it to the town. Which I guess we have to. I don't, I said we strongly recommend that you do a proper easement.
Just that little.
Yeah,
It's 40 acres.
Yeah.
It's not all shown here.
Yeah, that's not kind of the whole thing.
So.
Yeah,
That was
yeah, it's a nice
that
piece of land.
It's
Big, yeah,
This
almost
little
wetland.
piece up
Yeah.
here.
And so that one drains into the Green Hill Brook. It runs up to
I could see that.
Bond Road.
The requirement is that the open space be at least parcels. That's 60,
Yeah.
depending on whether it's general residential or neighborhood residential, 160, 150. This meets them both.
Yeah, yeah. So it seemed like a good deal. And I also mentioned that we'd like to tack on a stewardship fee. That's, remember, that's how we're planning to,
Good things.
partly to fund our, not just our operations, but the staff person eventually. We get enough of those, and I don't know what would be considered an appropriate fee. I know, Cell puts pretty hefty fees, like 10 or 20,000 or something.
But I think those are for big parcels.
No, I don't know. John Wallace just told me that even on a smaller parcel, but that much. So I don't know. And again, it's probably not our call. I assume planning or the select board probably has to make that call. But anyway, we wanted to at least let them know, and they were agreeable. These are the developers, not the owners, but they seem pretty amenable.
Should we have some sort of structure for how we decide what we recommend for these fees? I mean, it's like we gotta have some logic, recommendation that we can use for future.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, we need to figure that out tonight, but I agree.
You might
that would
want
be
to
good
talk to
know.
Connor about it. It seems like a good way to do it, to base it on the amount of time you expect monitoring to take and the work with the monitoring
Right,
that a town employee.
yeah, right, their time,
Yeah.
what they would cost, yeah, for sure. And, we want to maybe add a little extra. I was surprised to find they actually charge a fee for the 9.6 permits. I just happened to see a sheet where they total up the numbers. Yeah, I know. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but I was like, well, what does that go to if we're doing it for free?
Right.
And then we're determining what the impact
Remains
is.
to be seen.
It's only like $150, but ends up, I'm sure. Anyway, I don't know. Does anybody have any questions or comments? So,
I guess I lost you. What change or what
this is
advice
just
has come back to the planning board? Is
Well-
it just that change of, because we saw this
Yeah,
plan.
yeah,
Already.
then it was just the conceptual plan, and I guess. now it's the
Okay,
final
so this is
plan.
just more of a
Yeah.
polished
yeah,
version.
Right, yeah, so I don't believe there's any changes from the previous plan. Yeah,
No objections from me.
pretty good. And you okay? Any questions?
I'm okay with, no problem.
Okay. Yeah, and hopefully, there's plans on either side of that to figure out how we can best use that land, because there's a lot of open land back there. This extends all the way down to behind the Christmas stuff. So,
Mm.
yeah,
So
so,
leave the Lemos conservation.
yeah.
Yeah.
What's next? Garland. That's Bob Garland. Garland's Garage.
Oh,
You ever go to
Garland's Garage,
It's been
yes.
around forever.
Yeah.
This one's pretty straightforward
Never.
too.
Oh,
Come on.
What's the-
Yeah. Oh, you able to?
What was the Garland?
It's the 44-5 DUI.
Oh, okay.
24.
It's lot 5. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
there's some
just-
issues with that.
Yeah, just the plan, yeah. Yeah, so basically he's just subdividing, putting in one more lot. He has like 25 acres.
yeah.
I mean,
The problem with
So-
this is that the way he's proposing the
Wetlands.
lot, it's gonna require a wetland
Yeah,
process.
yeah, and they admitted that. They just said, we're gonna build culverts, and they said they wanna, try to minimize it, go in the narrowest spot. So they're saying the driveway might kind of wind around. It would start in the upper corner and then cut across that first wetland and then swing around to the other one. Because the house, they would of course put down the open below there.
So you mean through here?
Yeah, something like that. So I mean, it's just the way the
So
land is.
When
can't
are they
avoid it.
required to put in a 9.6 request? Is that when someone wants to build on it?
Well, I think even a driveway is considered it, right? It's an impact.
And
I
if-
mean,
yeah,
it's
any
any
impact.
construction.
Right,
Yeah,
but
so
but
that
I mean,
doesn't
for a
mean-
subdivision plan, they don't require this, it's only later on.
Right, when they do the building. Yeah, that may be that it's later on.
Plus the proposed lot's like just over 5 acres, so they're exempt from the state. Septic, subdivision requirement.
Yeah. Evidently, the land to the south there, the lower, that's all upland. It's actually up on a
It's
hill.
pretty steep.
Yeah, and then he wants to build his house, so he has a nice view. And
They,
it's nice.
they requested a waiver from having to do a wetland survey of this whole area.
Yeah,
And if you look at the contours,
Yeah.
it's pretty steep.
That's a hill.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's not gonna go to the top of the hill, of course,
Oh,
but
boy,
you can see where.
but this
Yeah.
is, the house is pretty well back there,
Yeah.
up a pretty good
Yeah,
grade, I think.
The driveway's gonna be
It
the
looks
most
like
expensive part of the project. probably.
could be, yeah, but evidently that's what they picked out. It's his grandson, I guess, that wants to build a house, so. I don't know if it's Bob the third or no, there's a Bob Junior. Anyway. So, yeah, I mean, there's obviously an impact, but they said they couldn't do a driveway through the neighboring lot.
Well, I mean, they
Existing
could,
lot.
but they probably don't
Well,
want to.
Yeah, and
Although if it's a relative, that's interesting. I
yeah,
thought they
except
might
that,
have-
relatives go away and then it's gonna be somebody else presumably. You don't really want to driveway through the property. And it's just as steep, I guess.
It would still, yeah, I mean, you might be able to. take
Yeah,
a
do an
little to
angle.
What's the hill?
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's gonna be a chore getting up there.
Yeah. Well, I expect they're probably gonna angle it anyway. Going up. So. I mean,
So putting culverts through the wetlands.
As long as
As long as they
know-
meet there's certain engineering criteria that they can do that.
Yeah.
And they met it apparently with their plan here.
I mean, it sounds like for a subdivision plan, there's not much that they technically really have to do. I mean, they
Yeah,
they
Yeah.
called Chris on that for Young Road because it seemed like nothing was gonna work there. It was being proposed in
yeah,
years.
it's much bigger.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know.
so folks okay with it at this point?
Don't see that we have anything to say.
Reminds me of the hunting thing. I scratch my head,
Yeah,
but
it's like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, yeah.
When it comes to the 9.6, we'll look at it and see what we
Yeah.
have to say.
Okay. Next one. Oh, this one's easy. This one's even easier because we definitely looked at it. Yeah, so this is the Landry
Do you want to look at
Forest.
it?
So I might as well pull up.
Sounds good.
It's only like a hand drawn one. Unfortunately, they didn't really, like they usually show where on the map it is, but it's pretty much where the existing driveway is.
It's down here, I think.
Yeah, it's basically right along the existing. And the deal is there's a gate there, right? You can pull in with one car and then you hit the gate. So they're gonna move the gate back like 20 yards or something. And then create a parking area off to the right, the left, I guess,
Yeah.
on the gate.
Down here.
Yeah. And evidently it's all upland there. They're gonna rebuild, I guess there's a little culvert right at the entrance there. And it's gonna be gravel.
The handwritten stuff is kind of interesting.
Yeah, well, this is the South guy who came up with this.
Oh.
Johan, what's his name? Any questions?
Doesn't he have good software?
I guess not. Yeah, you think they would.
They seem so techy that you are.
I mean, they're not engineers.
They seem so sophisticated in every
Yeah.
way that they talk.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't question.
No, it's exciting that it's gonna have a legitimate parking.
Yeah.
Yeah, and pending the state
It's like
review,
one of my
I did
treatment.
correspond a bit with them. They
We
said
get really
that
frustrated.
they said that it would.
They're kind of.
Guys, hey, excuse me.
Sorry.
Hello, I'm
Chair,
here.
sorry.
Oh, sorry. I have the floor. It was actually worse at the meeting. It was the yesterday meeting. Everybody was talking. I wasn't the chair of that one, but Connor was, and he wasn't chairing. Anyway, the story was that they are waiting on the state approval for doing official,
Oh, the curb cut kind of.
It's not really a curb cut, but whatever, getting off the state highway. And so whenever that gets approved, then they'll go ahead and they're hoping to get it built this fall. So,
There was an excavator sitting there.
yeah, I'm not sure whether that was theirs or somebody else's, but yeah, that was curious. I saw that. But anyway, they're hoping to get done soon. While I'm on general topic, they're also working on the Layton Forest parking area. Because I was curious, like it's been quite a while, and there they evidently had some archaeological issues to resolve, or because it's an old farm area, whatever, the old Layton Ranch. They had to work through that, but he was hopeful that that was all going to get resolved fairly soon as well. So that might get built this fall, or sometime in the new year. So that's their story. Everybody good with that? All right.
Yep.
One more. Sure. Yeah, this one's a little more involved. This one is a Chris Berry project. He was saying, well, I think this one won't be quite so difficult. But it is a 4-lot subdivision.
Yeah, so it's 1, 2, 3, the fourth one is back.
Yeah, so this is off of Mary Hill Road. It's just a couple lots down from the Selt parking area, I think.
Towards Swains.
Yeah. Back to that big wetland there, I believe, drains into Slains. And this isn't north-south, it's all cockeyed, so
Right.
you think Mary Hill Road is actually
Really
going the other way. Yeah, I don't know if you want to try turning it or, I don't know.
I can't, I can
Don't
only
bother.
turn it 90 degrees at a time.
Yeah, so anyway, it's kind of a challenging topography. There's some wetlands along Mary Hill Road. And then you can see how they're gonna just create one driveway for these 4 houses. And it's gonna swing up, at an angle, at the steep part, then curve around. And that way they can, reach all 4.
Yeah, I mean, I got to
Both
credit
sides.
Chris. He
Yeah.
if he's the
Great.
one that proposed this, he's doing everything he can to avoid the wetland.
Right.
He said they might still need a 9.6, but I'm not sure why.
It's hard to tell. I didn't look at it closely, but I think down at the bottom, there's might be a
Okay.
little bit of a buffer impact, but no direct wetlands.
This is still a design proposal, I think. Yeah, design.
Right. Now, the interesting thing is the upper part here, which is actually west of it, is Selt. That's part of the Stonehouse Forest. And you see that trail line?
Yeah.
There's a little, yeah, right there. Well, on the Selt maps, it says trail ends, just has a, trail discontinues. But the actual trail continues through there, and you can actually, I happened to walk it one day, and you can get into the next property, and you're in their driveway or their backyard. So I presume they were using it, but I asked Chris about it. I said, well, yeah, that's obviously going to be discontinued when they put in the development.
Yeah.
But, again, it wasn't really going anywhere. It wasn't like it was access to Mary Hill Road or anything. So that's the story. It is a really nice wetland over to the north there.
It's big.
To the right. Yeah, and that's just one of three, I think, that are. I did check, make sure that one isn't a prime wetland, but the next two up are. So, but if you happen to go in there, it's kind of a nice trail. So you get to the end of it. Right now, there's no barrier or anything. It just, I think it just says, you're leaving Selt or something. So, any comments, questions about this?
You said this is just a conceptual
Preliminary, yeah,
preliminary.
yeah. Yeah. And you're good?
I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, all right. So I guess the one thing that also helps, there's a bit of a buffer in the sense that you can see that there's kind of a ridge right on the middle, between the wetland and where the house lots would be. So that kind of, makes it a little less visible, I guess. So, all right. And that's all of them.
That's it.
That's great. Okay. So formal comments there. Good news. The select board did approve the job description that, or moving forward with this staff position that just happened Monday.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a final job description. And of course, that will be in the budget for town meeting. And so that's, I guess, assuming the budget passes. So folks got to support the new budget.
Yeah.
March. Yeah. So yeah, trail interconnectivity. As I said, they just had a meeting yesterday. Check my notes. I don't know if I mentioned last time, they were angling to get a agreement with a program out of UNH called, I guess, Downtowns and Trails. And it's like a whole program where they're, they have expertise on how to create new trails and figure out all the logistics of, making trails work, integrate with the existing landscape and all that.
It was accepted, right?
Yeah, it was accepted. But the deal is that they need to have a local steering committee to work with them, right? I mean, that's you might expect. They want to make sure there's good communication. So this interconnectivity / trails committee is going to become the downtown and trails steering committee. So that's the one development. There's a lot of discussion about coming up with better easement language, and not just like our type of easements, but access easements for, snowmobile trails, whatever other passageways.
You mean this group from UNH's?
No, I'm saying that's within this interconnectivity
Oh,
committee,
okay.
just because, that's kind of come up or has come up It's probably been more of an issue with snowmobile trails just because they're, you know, it's sometimes with the previous landowner and the land changes or they, somebody dies or whatever. They said there's a lot that's kind of loosey-goosey at this point. Let's see what else. Yeah, and they also figure that there's probably some state funding available to work on this as well. The UNH project evidently doesn't come with money per se, but it's staff time, expertise, et cetera. So, but the idea, and of course, we talked a bit also about fees on the developers for stewardship. So they're kind of on the same wavelength there. The one I think most interesting thing is that we have a new map. I think some of you probably saw an earlier version of it. Still in development. I'm a little frustrated that it's taking so long, but they assure me that we'll get a fairly final version by November 5th. You saw the previous one, it didn't have the green spaces, which, as you might guess, are the conserved areas.
I still don't have mine.
And they don't have everyone. There's several that are missing. Notably, the Landry Forest is not there yet. It's right here, right? They do have Layton at least. That's an improvement. And the other thing is the red is town-owned land, and then the yellow is self-owned land, right? So that's kind of a nice distinction. And there's a few trails that are still somewhat in dispute or shouldn't be there. Like this one doesn't exist. If you've been over to Stonehouse Pond, that purple trail there has been discontinued because they don't want people to walk along the shoreline and muck up the wetland there. And like this one here, I think should be green. I mean, we know it's not a formal easement, but a lot of these aren't formal easements. Even Kids of the River is not a formal easement, but it still seems like it ought to be green. Yeah, around the development there.
This one should have line.
Well, so, I mean,
Yeah,
what you're
I
saying
don't think that
about
is
the
town.
red and yellow is interesting because if red is town owned, then they need another color for privately.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, and they're not trying to cover everything. In fact, there was a big discussion about it. Well, we could show every lot, but then it's really busy. There's only lines all over the place. And even doing a third color, it's just one more complication.
Yeah.
I think these are all going to be combined. So all the trails that are walking trails will be green, and then the snowmobiles will be yellow. Now, the tricky part is that like some things like Tibbetts Road here is both snowmobiles and walking, right? So they're saying, well, we could do a green line and a yellow line running,
Well, I mean, there's
which kind of makes sense.
no snowmobile is exclusively snow.
Well, yeah, kind of. I mean, that's the thing. There are these other trails that we have no jurisdiction over. Or they haven't been made public per se. For example, the one at Malago Road there.
They have the good known trails as walking.
Yeah.
Those are definitely snow.
Right, and that's another one. That one's a little more complicated to get it on the line, but that's the idea, is to show that it's both walk, snowmobile. And then there was these lines, which are actually the power line lines, which evidently are not legal
They
trails,
don't want to go.
and even the snowmobilers aren't supposed to be going there. So those need to disappear, or at least not be shown as.
So this is a working project.
Yeah, and it's going to continue to get worked on. It's and they're just creating a database with all this stuff. But I want to have one that's available for the elections, so we can put it up on the wall and point to it. I suggested that we mark at least the major sites that have a number and then have a key over here that says this is what they are. If you remember our previous map, which we can still use, but it's just getting out of date, it would have things numbered, have like 12 of the public hiking areas, and then it listed them all. They thought that might be a little too busy, but then again, it's just a few dots. But anyway, and then the other thing is parking areas. This doesn't show, of course, any of the trailheads except itself. So, well, why not? Let's have. It's actually missing one of Seltz over here. But we went through and mapped out each of the parking areas, existing ones.
I'm really nice
So-
label maker. So they must have worked really fine. I mean, I just get the numbers up.
They'll get it on.
Yeah,
So-
there's one parking right there.
Yeah, there's like 7 around
That are-
town, I
yeah.
think, maybe 8. Not sure we included the roster.
Oh, there's one at
Yeah.
Town Farm.
Because it's not like official yet, right? It's
Until the
there.
logging's done, but
Yeah,
yeah.
but you can
well
mark
put
it.
in.
Right, yeah, it's going to be. So anyway, that's what we got. I don't know if it'll replace the other map, but it's, way more interesting because it actually shows all the trails. So, oh, the other thing that's missing, if you notice town center here, Caleb's Corner,
Right.
they don't show the town common. I pointed that out.
Yeah.
It's evidently, it's not like completely done deal, but it's
But if
98%.
they know something that's gonna be done,
Yeah.
why make
Right.
it so that you're gonna have to update it?
Right.
No, I think that was an oversight, so they will. I mean, I don't know if it's considered a conservation area, although I guess it's relatively open space, or it's supposed to be open. So anyway, that needs to be included. And again, there's a snowmobile trail running through it as well.
Is Green Hill actually on there either? The conserved portion of the Green Hill development?
This one?
Or was it
this? Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
This needs to be filled in with
Right.
green.
Yeah, this. Oh, it's green, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then also the Bedford lands,
Oh,
there were
yeah.
2 new.
Out in here.
Right, the O'Connell one, and there's one here and one here. Again, those aren't public access, but they are served and they're sold, so they get a yellow border. So anyway, that's stands. So unfortunately, John Wallace hasn't been to the last 2 meetings, so I haven't really conferred with him on whether he thinks this is getting complete or not. One issue was like, at Brazen Hill Farm, there's some trails that are kind of all mucked up because they did some logging back there, I guess. And so we only really show the main, what's it called, the tailings trail and the connection to Savos, yeah. So, there's gotta be some, it's not gonna be, obviously, it's not a trails map per se. Trying to include as much as we can. So,
Cool. It's
Work
good
in
start.
progress.
Good start, work in progress.
good, yeah, so that's what's going on there.
It feels funny to have so much of this rolled up map though
Yeah,
I mean, it's not really,
well, it's kind of neat because it shows the
especially relative to the towns around us.
Yeah, because the snowmobile trails do extend.
Oh, that's right.
In fact, they're very concerned about wanting to be able to get from Lee to Stratford, or
Well,
and right now you got to.
But that's
Yeah.
interesting. It looks like they've made an effort to make sure that they know about the conservation land surrounding.
Oh yeah, well this is Stratford,
Oh,
planning commission, yeah,
okay.
right. It's the same
That's
guy
good.
Jackson who's been doing it. So yeah, so they have all that data.
Yeah.
Obviously, just plug it in. So yeah, it seems like an
You can
improvement.
tell it's shaded. It's very
Yeah. We stand out. It's like a 3-dimensional thing. All right, so that's that. Yeah, I was a little surprised. They printed out like 6 copies of this one. But this isn't really complete or even close to being final.
Very proud of it.
Yeah, I guess so. What else do we got? I guess we're on to monitoring.
Speaking of Brazen Hills, I'm
Yeah.
coming along Saturday.
Oh, is that this set?
Saturday morning.
Yeah, I'd like to. Actually needed for my trail tracker.
Okay, well, let's do it. Okay, we can do, say they're doing some logging stuff. So
Yeah, it'd be good to see what
They
the status is.
They were, they're not still, are they?
No, I think it was like a year ago, but it's probably still a bit rough.
Okay, great, so.
So that's it.
Coming? I don't know. I'm sorry.
Is that at 9?
9, yeah, 9. Do you want to do it later, 10? I know you like.
I
Yeah.
prefer it later, but if other people.
10 o'clock. It's like 10 o'clock.
Right, that's the parking area.
Yeah, it's a parking area there, but that's.
If I'm there at 10, I'll go with you. If you take off without.
No, I won't take off early.
I'll be pissed when I may not be.
Yeah, I said, yeah, I turned in 2 reports today for the ridge.
A chunk.
Yeah, or a dump truck. So all the reports have been filed, all the reports have been filed, all the various agencies. Reports are in. Log into the system here and in the notebook, so we're pretty much on track. I do need to reschedule with TurboCam because I said that talking that guy was gone. So I've got to fit that in, but we'll have enough time between now and early December to do everything that we had planned. So it's looking good. I like it.
Good.
Is that it?
Yeah,
I
for
did
monitoring.
one kind of a monitoring related thing. Well, we were talking about the ridge up here.
Yeah.
There was a letter from the EPA. Evidently, somebody looked at an aerial photo and noticed there was a whole lot of bare space. I guess, parts that aren't finished or they haven't done the seeding or something. So she was inquiring about that. I think it's kind of being handled by planning folks, but they CC'd me on it. So it's interesting. I mean, we know that there's obviously a lot of erosion going on, or, that the back part,
Oh,
down toward
yeah,
the,
oh, definitely.
so it's not surprising that it would turn up, but I don't know whether somebody tipped them off to it.
Yeah, you wonder how it was prompted.
Yeah,
It's good.
yeah, it's good to know somebody's paying attention. But I guess if we
Speaking of
do,
that, I do need to send that report to the current owner for the developments, because it shows those drainage ditches, those little dam drainage ditches off the settlement ponds that are being undermined with
yeah,
drainage. I'll get that off.
yeah, good. I think that's it. Does anybody has anything new to bring up?
I have.
And you,
Yeah. I mentioned before that I'm not gonna re-up in March. And we have the smallest 10-person unit of any boards. Because most of our alternates are really not available to sit in if somebody isn't here. And that's why I talked Ann into staying on as an alternate. She's what it can. And Steve has joined us. But in March, when I'm no longer a full-time member, I know for a fact Ann will jump in. I mean, Steve might, and I hope he does. But that still leaves us in the position of not having alternates who are readily available. And in terms of, in general, going into the future, who we've got, we set it up on purpose so that, we know that some alternates are alternates for a reason.
Right.
Like,
Charlie.
like Charlie. So I'm just saying,
Yeah.
we should think about that, of thinking about, people you're running into, seeing around, who you might like to see in the future as members of the commission.
Yeah, and since you brought this up, I did get a note from Scott Aaron saying that he would like to bow out. Mainly because he hasn't been available much. But I kind of felt like, well, if you show up at all.
He's a famous musician.
Oh, yeah, he's a busy guy. So we may be down a couple of
Yeah, so
slots.
that's, something to think about.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't that many years ago when we were actually short of members and the select board just, threw somebody at us. And he was somebody I enjoyed, frankly. And in any case, whether it's a wonderful person or not, we should be making that happen, not this.
Yeah, sure.
So, but I just wanted to share.
So were you gonna stay on as an alternate?
Probably not. I mean, yeah, probably not.
We'll try to fill your shoes.
It's been fun.
Difficult.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I will say that the chair has succeeded me. It's awesome.
Thanks. I still can't get my name on the website. Thing I want to bring up with Jack. I think I did.
Jack should be able to.
No, it's only been what, 2 years. Anyway, yeah, and I guess we could at least offer to Steve if he wants to.
Yeah.
Go full time. He seems pretty interested. So, and I gather you're happy with
not
your
likely.
alternate.
Yeah.
Steve seems busy.
Yeah, I mean, he has missed a couple. He did let me know he couldn't make it tonight, but you know, we can see where he's at. Obviously, we prefer to have people that can make it, but so if you know anybody who seems like they might be interested,
Wonder
we
if
should definitely-
Deanna will be interested.
Yeah, I'm speaking of busy
Yeah,
people.
yeah, well, I know.
Oh,
Yeah.
Did you mention that?
Daniela,
Yeah, Deanna,
Mobius,
The owners of Chunk.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, a woman under the age of 50.
yeah, right. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, that or-
she certainly just seems very open and ready to.
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
she
to
would be
help
good. I
with-
expect she's gonna be real busy
Yeah,
with her
it's-
business, but it's worth
Yeah.
it's worth asking, to get a chance to talk with her again.
So
Yeah.
I had one issue.
Yeah,
I guess
sure.
the public concern, and I should have looked up the exact address, but Scruton Pond Road, that off 125, turn south, that's Scruton Pond Road. That new house that's been built, there, we
Yeah.
talked about it.
Yeah.
I just not noticed today, I drove by,
Yeah,
and
they had
he's
some people
doing a
there.
huge landscaping thing,
Yeah,
where it looks like it's gonna be a massive lawn, irrigated lawn. And he's got all the trees down, he's got
Yeah.
one tree left, but it's a massive lawn draining directly into a prime wetland.
right.
How
Yeah, how'd that
do we
happen?
need to send a letter saying?
Yeah, I don't know how. if
Use
we can-
low
I mean, I guess
phosphate.
anybody can raise a complaint, but I ran into a former, Concom member, Dan, Eric, and he raised it.
Oh, okay.
We were just in the grocery store and he said, hey, how about that property on the street?
Is there anything that can be?
Well, evidently, if you're in a buffer area, which they definitely are, and particularly because it's a prime wetland, they can cut vegetation down, but they're not supposed to strip it. You know, they like pulled out. I mean, I don't know if there were a lot of stumps or.
Is this what
but
you're
it's-
talking within the 100-foot buffer of the
It
prime?
looks that way. I mean, we're not out there measuring it.
I think it is.
But it definitely appears to be. I actually walked around the back end. I was just curious and going down, you know, the trail down railroad right away, and you can kind of see over there, and so you can see what.
Yeah.
a bear
Are they
was.
done or are they, is it?
He's living.
Well, they're doing, yeah, I think they're living there, but they're doing some excavation. They're maybe putting, I saw
Well,
backhoe
Lands.
and they're laying out
Oh,
landscaping, so.
maybe a let.
Massive landscape. I'm not going to complain about massive landscape. It's like mostly grass.
Yeah.
So I just see it's got to
Yeah.
be a
Yeah, they didn't have a whole
runoff
stack
going,
of
I was trying to
trees.
run right off into this prime well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it certainly has been. I think they did create some kind of berm down at the bottom. Minimal.
We checked the original permits and stuff. Was there any restrictions discussed or?
Well, I'm sure generally there's some, I've been meaning to kind of check the rules on wetland buffers, you know, what exactly they can. I mean, I didn't want to, according to Dan Air, they're not supposed to remove all the vegetation.
No, I don't think so.
So I don't know if you
Has that
have.
ever been quantified?
Yeah, it may be. It's not,
Are they-
not a,
We
Are they
actually,
supposed to remove
in our,
any of it?
sorry.
in our comment,
Yeah.
that was when we
Right.
approved that.
Yeah, that it
We
seems.
made a comment that we hope that the owners would be sensitive to their
Right.
proximity to the prime wetland
Right,
when they were considering landscape.
right.
And that wasn't, that.
Yeah,
that
who knows
wasn't-
if it actually got to the owner?
Yeah,
Yeah,
who knows?
yeah.
I mean, because I think somebody got the permits and then flipped it to the owner.
Could be, yeah.
But I mean,
Shoreline
why would
protection.
is any clearing allowed 50 buffer. That's
I
what
think there is, but again, it's not
If,
total.
if it's not quantified, then.
Yeah.
Yeah, then
Right.
it's.
It's
Well,
what
you got, but
Yeah.
I
I mean,
mean,
so we would go to,
Doesn't the shoreline protection Act actually quantify
right,
that?
that's open water.
It's not
only
shoreline.
but it's not open, it's not open water.
Yeah,
I mean,
Okay.
maybe a friendly visit for openers,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, because maybe
Yeah,
they,
we could stop in there.
stop in and say hi and say,
Yeah, the problem is, once they've stripped it, I mean, it's not gonna be what it was, or, it's,
well, it could-
but they could certainly
they
make some
could
amends.
put some shrubs back in.
Right,
Restoration
yeah,
Some restoration.
versus the lawn.
Beyond that, if we're doing anything official, then you probably want to collaborate with planning,
yeah,
not just.
code enforcement.
Make sure.
Well,
Understand
that's
really.
Yes,
I mean, talk
actually does it.
with code, talk to Jamie, see what Jamie thinks.
Yeah.
Talk with, John, see what John thinks.
Yeah,
Uh,
I was meaning to just look up the
that's
rules.
that's
first.
definitely
I know.
a good thing, but I think it's probably a mistake to go in there hot and heavy.
Yeah,
and say, I've got the rules.
right, yeah,
Maybe, if it came to that, what the heck?
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
All right, well, see if we can look into it. I was wondering about it too, because I drive by.
If you want to go
every day.
payment risk, like you have to go like, let's do that with one body.
Yeah.
Something like that. So, he may end up being, a nice guy, he'll say,
Yeah,
they'll do clover in the backyard or something. I don't know,
yeah.
something.
well, that's not gonna be enough,
Well, anything
at least, yeah. Well, he's certainly not gonna leave it bare ground.
Anytime
Or a
you
little
do a
restoration.
project like that, you have to wonder what kind of fertilizing. are they
Right.
going to do?
That's what I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've kind of come to the realization that prime wetland doesn't really convey much additional direction. I mean, because it's even the distance is from a different line. It's not the same line. So, when you say it's 100 feet, it's not 100 feet from the shoreline at the end of the wetland. So I don't know, it's just kind of frustrating because we'd like to think that it's.
Where is the delineation? What's the difference in?
It's the poorly drained soil versus the absolutely drained, like
Another
real
kind of
wet
soil.
Did you
versus
see
partially
they're
wet.
redefining that in the new,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
new regulations that we'll vote on in March?
yeah, yeah.
I still don't understand it.
Yeah.
They did change it.
Well, maybe we should get somebody to explain it to us, or somebody who knows the differences, yeah. But anyway, just from seeing the maps, it appears like at Young Road, it didn't convey any additional protection, so. But it sounds like he's probably certainly in the buffer, very least. I was glad he left one tree at least.
Yeah, that's one tree.
It's a big maple, and I'm sure it's holding some of the soil back. But probably not enough. All right, anything else?
Yeah, I don't know, Doug, were you in the email chain about the completing the logging? Well, it was at.
Yeah.
So back then, when Tim Nolan sent off, what he had to say was going on. This was back at the very beginning of September or late July, I'm not sure. And he said that the crew had something like another week on a job of his, and they had 5 weeks that they were committed to. And then if conditions were still good, they might consider, coming back to the well. I think we're sort of well into that time frame now, and it's been very dry.
Yeah.
So,
I was saying November, but let's see,
oh,
we're
was it?
close to November.
Okay, I thought that was
Yeah,
pretty
it's,
good.
I mean, maybe, but I'm just.
And he sounded pretty skeptical that things were gonna hold until then. They usually don't. I was just wondering if that, I actually
Yeah.
mentioned it in a text to AJ this morning. He got in touch with me about some trails.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, slightly out of the loop. What's happening with the Goodwill Superhighway over the pond?
Oh,
Well, yeah, and actually that should be maybe our next topic
Okay.
for next week is that we need to get our ecological assessment back to us. I haven't heard anything from Northwest
Okay.
as yet, but that's our next step,
Next.
looking at that.
That's good.
But I did hear some conversation, I guess this morning or yesterday, they talked about that they want to improve the snowmobile bridge. Evidently it needs work, the one that's lower down below the dam. And that they would, wanted to, in a sense, kind of discontinue the, where the dam is, or not have that be the main access, but that's not anything. That's just what the snowmobilers are saying, I
Well,
guess.
that's interesting.
So that's, anyway, there's
Yeah.
obviously a few different options. But certainly nothing is,
but that's just for the snowmobilers' use. In other
well,
words,
that's,
it's not-
it could be for both, but it's not, certainly not as convenient, I guess, for the food trail. I mean,
Oh,
we're further down.
no, I meant for
Yeah.
getting vehicle in for, safety.
Well, yeah, there's that too. Yeah, I don't think they were talking to the fire chief.
Because
Yeah.
if you remove the dam, you still got the access problem.
Right. Yeah, and then again, I think the fire department will have a very different take on it all, so. It wasn't them.
Yeah.
So, sounds like they're maybe done with it. I haven't seen if people leaving the forum or not, but, I don't know if Jack is gonna get here. I guess, yeah, I guess you could just,
Oh,
yeah, the
all
number
I
there.
didn't know what's, if you do. Peter's note just said we paid some CMA bills.
Yeah, that's the engineer,
Okay.
CMA consulting, whatever,
And that was for 5,328.
except we don't know what that is. I mean, why we're paying those bills. I presume it's something, maybe it's Richardson Dam. I don't know. It'd be
I
good
was,
to know.
what else would they?
Well, I don't know. I didn't think we were on the hook for any more there.
Pat would have to look it up.
Well, I did inquire to Jack, and Jack inquired to Peter Royce, town treasurer, and he hadn't gotten back as of yesterday, so I was hoping maybe Jack would have an update, but anyway, we ought to find out what it is we're paying for. It's some real money. But otherwise, it's,
Leaving a balance of 727,422.
yeah, so it's a little less, but still there. Yeah, so I think that's it for the finances. As far as the election day, he showed me a schedule. I think we've got every block covered except for the 8 to 10.
I have never heard of these people who are responding.
Well, they're trails people.
Well, they are.
Which, they're actually, to be honest, they're more into it. I mean, they tend to sign up, at least ahead of us. So I don't know if anybody's interested in doing the morning shift. But we still need to, the deal is, the energy committee table is gonna be right next to the Concom table, so.
Which
we
is
can
right
kinda-
next to the.
Select, maybe, yeah. So anyway, we're hoping to kind of be able to cover each other to some degree. But of course, it'd be good ideally to have a couple people there, because
Yeah.
you get into a conversation and then somebody else comes by and they don't know what to do, so. But we do have 2 people for the late shift, 4 to 7, and the others each have 1. So does anybody have? How many of you?
Doug,
The
I have not heard from Ron St. yet, so I may be available because I need a sit-down job if I work at the polls, and then you may not need me for anything.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
So I'll let you know.
Yeah, good. Anybody else?
I'm unclear as to what he scheduled me so far. I told him I'd do it.
Yeah, I think you were
Dennis.
10 to 12.
Dennis.
Yeah, he's a trails guy.
And
Yeah.
Betsy's been there.
Yeah, she's at 4. Yeah, I think you're 10 to 12. Does it sound right? Email. So anyway, we're pretty well covered. So, like,
10 to
you know,
12,
if you happen to be there, you can stop by. And I believe Jack was going to get it all set up ahead of time. So, assuming we'll have
The
the
new map.
map. Well, the old map, but like to have the new map. So, better than this one, hopefully.
Again, there's an opportunity to recruit some.
Yeah, there's that too. I mean, you never know. Somebody might say, hey, it's like to get more
I
involved.
like the idea of Daniela.
Me too.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't need better.
No, she canceled the meeting.
Yeah, so, twice. Well, unfortunately, we didn't all get to meet her. I actually know her sister from way back, but that was
Is she
20
the
years
young-
ago. Daniela or the
Is
sister?
this Mobius you're talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah.
I don't know the first name, so it's the sister, or completely different.
Yeah, the other one is Bianca. Obvious. There may be other kids.
They live on Mendon's Park.
Well, their father does.
Oh,
he's the-
that's,
he's-
The mother,
okay, that's
yeah.
what.
Or,
it
yeah,
is.
so, yeah. Yeah, they're on near the, like they submitted the father submitted a letter about the area road development.
Oh,
random plans.
So, because they're right behind it, I guess, one of those abutters. So yeah, it's all local folks. So. All right, I guess we don't have any other committee stuff. You said Lands Committee isn't active still. I've been seeing AJ. He came to the meeting the other day.
You should ask him.
Yeah, I guess I should. By the way. And do you have anything else? We good?
No,
Sightings?
I have taken my arm.
Yeah.
And I took the doxycycline and I'm feeling a little nauseous. Thank you,
Yeah.
everybody.
All right, well, we'll be done soon. I got a tick, just a week ago. I'm
So you take the
surprised.
doxycycline?
No, I mean, it wasn't barely in me. I wait until it
This one got
turns
good
red.
into me, but if
Yeah.
it gets in, if it's on me, I
Yeah.
pop 2 doxycycline.
Yeah,
I don't want to get,
I found my first one 2 days ago.
yeah, it's weird with this warm weather.
Yeah.
Evidently.
And
Coming
they're
back
so
down.
tiny. This
Yeah,
one's.
yeah.
I'm getting, I have to be less cautious, which is.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, well, we had
I'm
such a
thinking, well,
nice.
if I don't touch any bushes, I'll be fine.
Any larger critter sightings?
Well, the dragon.
Yeah, I noticed that today too.
Like,
100
I
of them.
love that when they show up. It's just
Yeah.
chat.
Well, it's funny, my wife said, oh, is that a crow? I said, no, it's a little smaller. It's a grackle. Kind of like crows, but
Come in swarms in general.
yeah, we often have a couple hundred. In fact, they were starting to swarm. I saw a barred owl right over my driveway. I only noticed it when it moved. I mean, it was just sitting up there. This is broad daylight, middle of the day. But when it flew away, partly it was dead silent, as owls are. But I'm pretty sure it was a barred.
Sorry, monarch butterfly today. Oh, that's late, you know?
Yeah, I know. It's kinda like, you're kind of late for the migration. Yeah, I saw one too. But it's been
3
warm.
weeks ago, I saw one in the parking lot in Barrington.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing that we've been seeing lately is bats.
Oh,
After I asked you,
Yeah.
I saw him this week, yeah.
Oh, good.
that's a good sign.
Yeah. Yeah. They
Well, you had
were,
them, didn't you have them nesting?
they're under the eaves somewhere in the house and probably in the attic. But,
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no access to that, so
Yeah.
I'm not going to worry about it. I
Till
hope that-
they form a major colony.
Well,
Okay.
I wish I knew whether they overwintered or not. It doesn't seem
They
like
do.
it would be very warm.
Well, warmer than.
Well, but I don't think it would be as warm as a cave.
Probably not.
I really
Warm in caves around here, so it's either that or a dead tree, I guess.
yeah, so maybe.
Devil's Den.
Yeah.
I
right,
wish
yeah.
I wish them luck.
Yeah.
They're fun to watch.
I know.
This is the usually in the fall, when things get quiet on the lake, we see otters from time to time. We saw them just the other morning, the first time this fall. So, you know, those cold mornings that are
Yeah,
smoke on the water and you see the
Yeah.
otters swimming by. So it's nice. It's a good sign.
yeah. I have seen a beaver once or twice. Sitting out there.
I heard a fisher cat. Didn't see him, but I heard him
That's cool.
shrieking.
Was it doing the shrieking?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's creepy.
Shrieking.
All right. And did you have anything else for sightings?
Oh, just the usual birds. I love my birds.
Yeah. All right. Have a motion to
Okay.
adjourn?
So,
All right. Good.
Okay, good night, Ed.
third
Good night.